Good evening, all, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Akshay. I am the project director for Moneylife Foundation, and I am delighted once again to welcome you all for an important RTI session. Before we start, for those of you who are new, the webinar is being organized by Moneylife Foundation, as I've said, and we are a 12-year-old nonprofit organization primarily engaged in spreading financial literacy and advocacy for savers. We also make efforts to spread consumer awareness on various issues that are of interest to our members. Over the years, we have organized many sessions and workshops explaining the provisions of the RTI Act and also how to file effective applications to seek information. We have also made efforts to provide counseling and assistance on RTI applications through our RTI Advice app, which is available to download on both Google and Apple app stores. Today's session is intended as a refresher of sorts for those of you who are having trouble understanding the RTI Act and have faced difficulties to get the desirable response from your information officers. For those of you who are completely new, this is also a good starting point to learn more about RTI. Our speaker for today is retired Central Information Commissioner, Mr. Shailesh Gandhi. Many of you already know him, but allow me to formally introduce. As I've said, Mr. Gandhi is a former Central Information Commissioner. He's also the first RTI activist to become such a commissioner. He served as a commission for 3 years and 9 months, during which he disposed of nearly 20,000 cases and also managed to completely digitize his office. After retirement from the commission, Mr. Gandhi continues to remain active in all matters related to RTI and dedicates his time to helping citizens learn more about the Act, and is also present as an expert on our RTI Advice app, where he takes the time to answer your queries on specific RTI applications. Before I hand it over to Mr. Gandhi, allow me to share some ground rules for today's session. We have kept all of you on mute for the benefit of all involved and will only unmute you during the Q&A session. For optimal viewing, we suggest that you keep your webinar on speaker view. The meeting is being recorded and video shall be uploaded to our YouTube channel, Moneylife TV. During the Q&A, please use the raise hands button available on Zoom if you wish to ask any questions. Also, sincere request to please keep your questions short, maybe limited to under 90 seconds. And please feel free to use the chat section to share your comments, questions, and observations, but do send it to everyone marked in the public forum. Do not send us a private message, as we would not be able to attend to any such questions while the webinar is live. Please also note that your cameras may be on by default and you could be broadcasting your background and homes for everyone to see. If you wish to maintain your privacy, you can turn your cameras off now. And now, without taking too much of your time, may I ask Gandhi sir to please take over. Sir, over to you.
Fellow citizens of India, thank you for joining today's webinar, and hopefully we will all come out a little wiser, understanding what is transparency, what is democracy, and so on and so forth. We say India is the world's largest democracy. When I was in school, I was taught that democracy is rule of the people, for the people, by the people. But most citizens don't feel like rulers when they interact with government. Then are we a sham democracy? I looked up Google, and one of the definitions I found for democracy was a system of elections to select the rulers. That is what we've become right now. Our voting gives us the right to select our rulers, and then they rule over us. This is not true democracy. Democracy is still the classical government of the people, for the people, by the people. Each one of you owns India. You own the government, and the government consists of public servants who are appointed through a system by our elected representatives. Everybody derives legitimacy from you, the citizen of India. Somewhere, someone asked me, he said, is this possible? I mean, it's nice words, but does it happen anywhere? Can such a thing ever happen? I'd like to give you two stories of what I mean when I talk of rulers of India. The first story is of the United States of America. I'm not saying everything there is perfect, but they have a 2-century lead over us in terms of democracy. An immigrant there from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, who has applied for a green card or citizenship of the United States, will easily pick up a telephone to ask about the status of his application. And 99% he'll get a perfectly rational answer from the other side of the phone because one human being has called. That is the essence, in my view, of civilization. That is the essence of democracy. When a human being calls, he gets a response. The other story is a story that all of you know, but I'll present a slightly different perspective. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi got inside that train in South Africa over a century and a quarter back. He had a first-class ticket, so he got inside the first-class compartment. There was a white man sitting there who objected, and therefore a railway official came and took Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi off the train. That same story is written something that we normally don't notice. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi sent a telegram complaining about what had happened to him. And in 12 to 14 hours, the system responded. An officer came and put him on the next train. Think of the significance of this story. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was not a citizen of South Africa. By South African law, then he was a second-rate human being. Even as a human being, he was not a first-rate human being since he was not a white man. Despite that, he makes a complaint by telegram and the system responds because one human being has complained. Some people tell me, Mr. Gandhi, India has too much population. How can we answer everybody? Please understand, countries which have lesser populations are able to find a way of answering individuals. We with more people should employ more people in government and be able to respond to every query, every complaint, every annoyance, every grievance of a citizen. That is what should happen. And for the first time, we have a position in place in the Right to Information Act which says within 30 days, they must respond to you. And if they do not respond, there is a threat of a personal penalty on the public servant. This really establishes the Indian democracy. We call India a democracy because we have a reasonably fair system of elections by which we elect governments. After that, they may change sides, but anyway, we legitimize the elected legislators and members of parliament. I would submit to you that having a fair system of elections and a constitution are necessary conditions for a democracy, but are not the complete set of conditions. The heart and essence of democracy is the concept that each individual citizen is a sovereign in her own right, and she gives up part of the sovereignty in return for which she gets the rule of law. Sovereignty of the individual citizen is the key to democracy, is the heart of democracy. In Hindi, we use the word Lokshahi. Lokshahi can only have one meaning, Logon ki Shahenshai. Friends, when you deal with the government, you should feel like a Badshah or Begum. And I'm hoping at the end of this talk, you will learn something about right to information. It's an instrument towards a better democracy. But more importantly, you will start believing that you are the Badshah and Begum of this nation. We are going to take a look at some of the provisions of the law. And at the end of this, you will be as much of an expert on the RTI Act as I am. And when we have question and answers, feel free to challenge what I am saying. Feel free to question what I am suggesting. Now I'll share my screen with you. Is a screen visible, Akshay?
Yes, sir.
Shall I make it full? Okay. The right to information.
You'll have to make it full screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to make it full screen.
I think you can press F5. Or you can go to slideshow at the top and start the slideshow.
That's not happening.
You can go to slideshow at the top in the menu and start.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to make it full screen somehow.
Can you go to slideshow in the top?
I think the visibility should be okay.
It will be better if it's a full screen, sir.
Shall we go ahead?
Okay, fine.
Akshay?
Yes, sir.
Or you would like to run the presentation?
So if you go to slideshow, hello.
Hello.
Akshay, shall I run the presentation or would you like to run the presentation?
Hello? Hello? Sir, I think if you go to slideshow at the top, you will find the menu to go full screen. Hello?
Hello. Slideshow. Yes. Now I've got something else. But where do I say from the beginning? Yes, from the beginning. Yes, I think I'm managing. The first law in the world which recognized the citizens' right to access information of the government was passed on 2nd December 1776 in Sweden. After that, for nearly 150 years, no country passed such laws. In the last century now, we have over 130 countries with transparency laws which go by 3 different names. Freedom of Information FOI, Access to Information ATI, and Right to Information RTI. All these are synonymous terms for the concept that citizens have a right to all the information that the government has. Keep remembering you are the Badshahs and Begums of this nation. You own the government. Individually, you own the government. You are the ruler. At one college, when I was giving a talk on this, one young student got up and said, Mr. Gandhi, are you serious about this? I said, yes, I am. He said, you're not lying. I said, no, I'm not. He said, supposing I like a government car, can I take it home? I said, you can't take it home. He said, why? You told me I own government. I am the ruler of this nation. Why can't I take a car that I like home? The reason I explained to him was because it is in partnership with 140 crore other Indians. But, and this is important to understand, all the information in the cupboards, computers, files of the government also belongs to you. And if that information is given to you, it does not deprive anybody else of their information, of getting the information. Therefore, the default mode in right to information is, and the philosophy behind right to information is, you own the information and have access to all the information, barring very few exemptions, which are required to run the society and to ensure that harm does not come in a way that society does not consider acceptable. The National Right to Information Act came about in 2005, October 12th, which was Vijayadashmi. It's a very significant day for India, and we started on our journey to right to information from there. Let's read the preamble together. Whereas the Constitution of India is established democratic republic, and whereas democracy requires an informed citizenry and transparency of information, which are vital to its functioning, and also to contain corruption and to hold governments and their instrumentalities accountable to the governed. And whereas revelation of information in actual practice is likely to conflict with other public interests, including efficient operations of the governments, optimum use of limited fiscal resources, and the preservation of confidentiality of sensitive information. And whereas it is necessary to harmonize these conflicting interests while preserving the paramountcy of the democratic ideal. When Parliament passed this law, they were aware that there will be certain difficulties, certain conflicts between running an efficient government. It doesn't run very efficiently, but they believe that they are trying to do their best, and sharing information with citizens. And the law has harmonized these conflicting interests in keeping with the Constitution of India, and also in keeping in view the various interests that are likely to get involved. The harmonization, I agree, I submit, is done by the law. It is not to be done by individuals. A lot of people say, "Aisa hoga to kaisa chalega." Law is what Parliament passes or legislature passes, and all of us have a duty to follow the law. In the case of right to information, I must concede that the default mode is most citizens follow the law Many bureaucrats and government servants do not follow the law, which is unfortunate. They have illegally deny information to citizens, but this is a struggle we've got to win. What is information? Information means any material in any form, including records. In simple terms, what exists is information, what does not exist is not information. This is not right to interrogation, it is right to information. Information is something that exists. If you ask a government public information officer, if I apply for this job, will I get it? He's not expected to answer that because there is nothing on record showing whether you should get the job or not. If you ask the public information officer, what is the meaning of the right to information? What is the meaning of this? He's not expected to give you any information unless there is a record that says this is the meaning of this. So please remember this. And information relating to any private body which can be accessed by a public authority under any other law for the time being in force. Who has to give information? The law defines a term called public authority. Private bodies are not covered by the Right to Information Act, but information which the private bodies submit to a public authority can be accessed by you. As an example, the cooperative housing societies are normally not a public authority as defined in the law. So therefore, they are not in the ambit of RTI. However, if you ask registrar of cooperative societies for information that these societies have submitted to the registrar of societies, you can access that information. Who has to give information? The law, as I said, defines public authority. Public authority means any authority or body or institution of self-government established or constituted by or under the constitution by any other law made by parliament, by any other law made by state legislature. In simple terms, everything that we call government, central government, state government, panchayats, municipal corporations, municipalities, all these bodies are covered by the RTI Act. By any other law made by parliament, there are institutions which are created by an act of parliament or state legislature. As one example, the Sikh Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee has been created by an act of parliament. There are some other bodies also. These are public authorities that come under the ambit of the RTI Act. By notification issued or order made by the appropriate government. If government issues a specific notification creating somebody, for example, deemed universities are created by specific notifications issued by the government, and therefore they are public authorities as defined in the law, and includes any body owned, controlled, or substantially financed, non-government organizations substantially financed directly or indirectly by funds provided by the appropriate government. Any body which claims to be private but is owned by government or controlled by government or substantially financed is a public authority as defined in the law. There's some controversy about the PMKS fund. PMKS fund claims that they are not a public authority as defined in the law. They say we are a private trust. Just 2 minutes to demolish that argument. It may be a private trust. The trustees are ex officio, the Prime Minister of India, and 3 other ministers, ex officio. When they are ex officio trustees of a trust, they are supposed to act as per government policy. They may be setting the government policy, but they are supposed to control the trust by government policy. And therefore, PMKS fund is effectively controlled by government and should actually submit itself to the public right to information. What is right to information? Right to information means the right to information accessible under this act, which is held by or under the control of any public authority, and includes the right to inspection of work document records. You can inspect files, you can inspect work, you can inspect records. For example, if there's a pothole road and you want to bring it to records, if you ask under right to information and say, what is the condition of this road? Unless these potholes have been recorded by the municipal corporation, the public information officer, so the road is all right. You could say, I want to inspect the road with a municipal officer. You inspect the road, take photographs, create records, and then you can fight on that. Taking notes, extracts, or certified copies of documents or records. This is what is normally done. Taking photocopies of documents, extracts from documents, or taking notes. Taking certified samples of material. You can also take samples of material. For example, if you believe the government hospital has got very poor quality medicines or fake medicines, you can take samples and get it tested. You can test concrete being laid on a road or bituminized mix being used for a road. Taking certified samples of material. You can take samples, as I said. Obtaining information in the form of diskettes, floppies, etc., etc. One very important source of information increasingly is becoming CCTV footage, because so many cameras are being installed all over the place that you can get CCTV footage, including at police stations, to prove your point or to show wrongdoing. The most important section of the RTI Act, in my opinion, is Section 3. Subject to the provisions of this Act, all citizens shall have the right to information. Who shall have the right to information? All citizens of India. Some countries allow any person to access information, but the Indian Parliament has said this is something that belongs to citizens and therefore they should have access to it. Can any information be denied? Philosophically, if I am the ruler of this nation and if I own the nation, nothing should be denied from what I own. However, to run a modern state, it is considered that some information has to be denied and kept secret. For example, if all details were to be given, it would be difficult to safeguard the country itself. But what information can be denied? Subject to the provisions of this Act. The law does not say confidential information shall not be given, sensitive information shall not be given. It defines criteria. In Section 8.1, there are 10 criteria, A to J. And information disclosure which would damage somebody's intellectual property right or copyright. For example, if you were to ask, that is Section 9, if you were to ask the censor board for a copy or DVD of a movie, they would deny it to you because this would be infringement of copyright. Apart from that, Section 8.1 has 10 exemptions, which we will deal with as we go down the line. Once you know what can be denied, all the rest, I repeat, all the rest is default information that by law, as made by Parliament, must be given to you no matter who says no. The heart of the RTI Act is in Section 4, as they say. Every public authority shall maintain all its records duly catalogued and indexed in a manner and form which facilitates the right to information under this Act, and ensure that all records that are appropriate to be computerized are within a reasonable time and subject to availability of resources. Computerized and connected through a network all over the country on different systems so that access to such records is facilitated. This is automatically built in, really. It should be there in every working office. Records must be duly catalogued and indexed in a manner which facilitates not just the Right to Information Act, but its own working. If they cannot find the files, records, if they cannot find the records, then it's useless. It's almost like junk paper with them. But I'm focusing more on this latter part of this section. Computerized are within a reasonable time and subject to availability of resources, computerized and connected through a network all over the country on different systems so that access to such records is facilitated. It's been 17 years since the law was passed. All government offices have got computers world across the country, including panchayats. To give just one example, I've checked, Maharashtra has about 28,000 panchayats, and each panchayat has a computer, internet connectivity, and one person employed to work the computer. So that's available. Here's a dream I want to share with you. And the reason for that. It's quite common that a citizen goes to a government office to pursue his complaint, application, or representation, and is told by the peon, file nahi milta hai. 100 रुपया दिया तो फाइल मिल जाएगी, 500 रुपया दिया तो रिकॉर्ड बंदी हो जाएगा, 1000 रुपया दिया तो फाइल गायब कर दी जाएगी, and थोड़े लाख रुपए दे दिए तो पूरी आग लगा दी. This is the source of a significant amount of corruption, the paper files. Most of the official work is typed on a computer, but the computer is used more as a electronic typewriter rather than a working method. What can happen is banish all paper files. You will save thousands of crores of paper. Do all the work only on computers. Computers can have backup, enough security, whatever you like. Accessing information, accessing records would be a dream. And if anybody tries to make any change, there are systems that would identify who made the change, when, and what it was before. The records can be computerized and kept in a different city altogether, so that even an earthquake will not destroy the records. This is possible. It could save thousands of crores of money, space, time spent to locate the records, and most importantly, probably a few million trees. This must happen, and citizens must demand this. You are the Badshahs and Begums of this nation. It's your job to demand this. There are 17 points under Section 41B, such as the information as may be prescribed. The heart of the RTI Act, unsatisfactory implementation. Computerization is the key to this. And the way I dream, every evening the work done in an office should go on the website. Proper implementation could improve working efficiency. It would also make the PIO's job easier. Over 50% RTI applications seek information which should be available under Section 4. Section 4 is specified information that should be available suo motu. That is not happening. As I said, our implementation is rather poor, but we must make it work properly. Very well, I know what is information, what is right to information, who has to give information, public authority. Who do I go and ask for information? The law specifies that each administrative unit of a public authority, each administrative unit must designate a public information officer. He's usually an officer who's doing some of the work, also has the additional responsibility of providing information to RTI applications. He is supposed to receive your RTI application. You need to know the name of the person. The answer is no. You just address the RTI application to the office of a public authority who you think holds the information. Thinks. What happens? Will the information be available to the public information officer? The answer is usually no. He must get it by taking assistance from other officers in the department, in his department, and supply the information to you. Liability is his. In 30 days, he must do this on pain of penalty. Supposing the information is not in that department at all. Supposing you ask BMC for some information, which is on fire brigade's record. Can the RTI be returned to you and told, go to the other office? The answer is no. You are the sovereign, the Badshah or Begum of this nation. You cannot be told like that. In 5 days, the PIO has to transfer the RTI application to the right office and inform you about it. After that, the office to whom the RTI is transferred is responsible for responding to you. A person who desires to obtain any information under this act shall make a request in writing or through electronic means in English or Hindi or in the official language of the area in which the application is being made, the local language of the state. You can apply in any one of these three, but the response will be in the language that is used by the office. It can be in any one of these three languages. An applicant making request for information shall not be required to give any reason for requesting the information or any other personal details except those that may be necessary for contacting him. Many government officers say this is an unreasonable provision. Without any reason, why should information be accessed? If you own the information, you don't have to give reasons why you want to access information. 2, this is a fundamental right. Right to information is a fundamental right under Article 19(1)(a). If I have to give reasons for seeking information, tomorrow I'll have to give reasons for speaking. I'll have to give reasons for publishing an article. For none of these fundamental exercise right, exercise of fundamental rights do I need to give reasons to anybody? Of course, when you ask for information, you have some objective. It's to increase your knowledge about something. It may be to do some research. It may be to expose wrongdoing. It may be to expose corruption. Many of these, but you are not expected to explain the reasons to anyone, except there's one exception, which we'll deal with later. On receipt of a request under Section 6, PIO shall, as expeditiously as possible in any case, in 30 days of the receipt of the request, either provide the information on payment of such fee as may be prescribed or reject the request for any of the reasons specified in Sections 8 and 9. As I told you, Sections 8 and 9 deals with copyright, 8 deals with the exemptions, which we'll outline. Either information must be provided or it should be rejected, but only based on the reasons specified in Sections 8 and 9. They cannot say this is sensitive information, this is confidential information, investigation is ongoing. Those cannot be reasons for denying information. The fee that is talked of, there's usually an application fee, in most cases 10 rupees, which in most cases can be paid by Indian postal order of 10 rupees. Nowadays, various portals have also started by government where they accept RTI applications online, where they take payment of 10 rupees by credit cards or debit cards or UPI. If PIO fails to give decision on the request for information within the period specified under Section 1, PIO shall be deemed to have refused to give the request. Not answering is an illegal denial of information to the citizen and a violation of his fundamental right. Apart from this payment of 2 rupees per 10 rupees for the application fee, if the information is, let's say, 100 pages, that's a payment of such fee as may be prescribed. If the thing is 100 pages of A4 size, normally 2 rupees per page is the charge. So it would be 200 rupees. The PIO must inform you that you have to, your information is 100 pages or 150 pages or 120 pages. This, and in some states, the postal charge is also being borne by you. How to count the 30-day period in this payment of fee, I'll just deal with. PIO must give further details of further fees, which is what I told you, depending on the size of the information. He will, and what this says, I'll explain to you in a simpler manner. Person making a request for the information shall provide the information free of charge. Where a public authority fails to comply with the time limit specified in subsection 1 is 30 days. If in 30 days information is not given, then even if the information is, say, 2,000 pages, the PIO cannot charge you 4,000 rupees. He has to give it to you free of any charge. 30-day period. PIO receives RTI application is day 1. After X days, PIO sends letter asking additional fees, 30-day clock stops. Additional fees paid, 30-day clock starts again. Information sent after Y days, X plus Y should be less than or equal to 30 days. If RTI application is transferred, 30 days becomes 35 days because they get 5 days for a transfer of the RTI application. I have outlined some RTI applications. A brief, concise RTI application yields better results than a rambling one which goes on and on and on. Be focused. Seek information that you want. In your mind, there is something. Either it is just to increase your knowledge on a particular topic, or to expose corruption, or to expose wrongdoing done to you. These are application forms that I have made, and they are given in these 3 slides. You can ask for a copy of this presentation from Moneylife and they'll send it to you gladly. I'm not reading this out. Only if you want to inspect files, I have created a small format. I want to inspect files relating to so-and-so. I will bring Mr. So-and-so to assist me in inspection. Please suggest 2 dates and time at which I could come for the inspection. I will identify the documents for which I want photocopies at the time of inspection. Please ensure that the pages of the files are numbered. When you go for inspection, the pages must be numbered. Even otherwise, the pages should be numbered. But if the pages are not numbered, refuse inspection. Make a note that the files are not numbered. because otherwise they could take out some records and not show you the critical records. Likely outcomes of RTI application. PIO sends letter asking further fees to be paid and information obtained by applicant. Satisfactory outcome. You get letter from PIO transferring your application. Further communications will be the PIO to whom the RTI is transferred. You get letter from PIO refusing to give information quoting an exemption. To feel exemption is justified, accept the decision. To feel refusal is not justified, file a first appeal within 30 days. You must state reasons why you think refusal is not justified. PIO asks you to come for an inspection, refer to SIC orders. When very simple information is sought, the PIO cannot ask you to come and inspect the files. Various commissions have given orders in which they have said that when simple information is sought, the citizen must not be called for inspection and must be offered the photocopies. PIO does not respond at all. This is a deemed refusal without reason. File a first appeal after 35 days and before 60 days of the RTI application. Addressed to the first appellate authority, care of public information officer. Who do I file a first appeal with? The law says the PIO must give you the details of the person who is the first appellate authority. But if he has not responded to you, what do? A simple technique. Address it to the first appellate authority, care of public information officer, and the same address as the PIO. And write in that the law requires you to give me the details of the first appellate authority. Since you have not done it, now you must forward it to the first appellate authority. Keep in mind this very important part. RTI is a fundamental right of citizens under Article 19(1)(a), which guarantees freedom of speech and expression. Various Supreme Court judgments since 1975 have held that this includes right to information and right to publish. Remember one thing, we say media is very important and media must have a lot of rights and the rights are respected. The Constitution did not give any specific rights to media. There is no mention of media, in fact, in the Constitution. Then where does their power come from? Where does the authority come from? In Supreme Court rulings in Bennett, Coleman and Company, the Supreme Court has held that right to publish is a fundamental right arising out of Article 19(1)(a) because it informs the citizens. It is a medium through which citizens get information. Therefore, my right to information cannot be lower than media's right. It is equivalent to the media's right. It is equivalent to my freedom to speak. Now, any restrictions on this have to be given in the Constitution. Otherwise, no restrictions can be imposed on me. The only permissible restrictions are given in Article 19(2), which permits reasonable restrictions in the interests of the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation or incitement to an offence. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that privacy is a slightly controversial thing for which there is an exemption. There are only two words in Article 19(2) that would deal with privacy: decency or morality. I'd like you to keep it in mind for the moment. After 5 minutes, we'll refer to it again. 8(1) has about 380 words. And once you've understood this, you are master of RTI, as far as the law is concerned. Notwithstanding anything contained in this act, there shall be no obligation to give any citizen information disclosure of which would prejudicially affect the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security, strategic, scientific, or economic interests of the state, relation with foreign state, or lead to incitement of an offense. As an example, if you were to ask, the army is a public authority under the law, subject to the RTI regime. If you were to ask the army to give you details of the formations on the Kashmir border, that would be denied to you because of 8(1)(a). But the PIO must specify which interest is likely to be hurt, whether the integrity of India or the economic interest or the scientific interest, or lead to an incitement of an offense. Information B, information which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal, the disclosure of which may constitute contempt of court. A lot of times, information is refused claiming exemption under 8(1)(b) with the statement that matter is sub judice. Sub judice is not the cause for denial of information. What the law has said categorically is which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal. So if somebody claims exemption 8(1)(b), you should tell them, show me a law, a court order or a tribunal order forbidding this information to be revealed. Otherwise, you have to give me information. Sub judice cannot be cause for not giving information. C. Information, the disclosure of which would cause a breach of privilege of parliament or the state legislature. What kind of information is this? For example, budget papers, if you seek before the budget is presented to parliament or state legislature, that would be breach of privilege. Commissions of inquiry are set up, and the Commissions of Inquiry Act says within 6 months of the presenting of the report, it must be placed in parliament or state legislatures. If this has not been done, before the 6-month period is over, they can claim this exemption. But if once 6 months are over, they have breached the privilege of parliament or state legislature, you can demand it and it must be given to you. Information including commercial confidence, trade secrets, or intellectual property, disclosure of which would harm the competitive position with third party. Unless the competent authority is satisfied that a larger public interest warrants the disclosure of such information, I will deal with that at the end. D exempts information that is nature of commercial confidence, information that is not publicly shared easily, and is kept a secret, and the disclosure of which should harm the competitive position of a third party. For example, if you ask Food and Drug Organization for the details of the formulation of Coke, that would be denied to you because it would hurt, it is commercial conflict. It would hurt their competitive position. On the other hand, if a tender is awarded for a government job, until the tender is awarded, information may be withheld from you. Once the tender is awarded, nobody's competitive position will be hurt, and therefore information must be provided to you. E. Information available to a person is fiduciary relationship. What's a fiduciary relationship? Now there hangs a tale. I've observed that most government officers and citizens do not know what is fiduciary. In very simple terms, people say it's a matter of trust. And that's not the only thing. What is the characteristic of a fiduciary relationship? A doctor-patient relationship, a banker-customer relationship, a lawyer-client relationship. These are fiduciary relationships. What are the characteristics of this? Somebody gives information to somebody with better knowledge on a topic for his or her benefit. I go to a doctor, lawyer, or bank for my benefit. He is supposed to act in a manner that he keeps whatever information I give confidential, but I am not supposed to act in a confidential manner on what he tells me. If a lawyer advises me something or gives me a legal advice, or a doctor advises me, I am not bound at all to hold it secret. I can share it with as many people as I like. There is a choice on whether to give the information or not. In fiduciary relationships, there is no law directing me to give the information. 99% of the information in government records is not held in a fiduciary relationship. I want you to understand, you don't have a choice. Your income tax return, your passport application, your application for a job, these are not fiduciary relationships. This you have to do, you don't have a choice. Information received in confidence from foreign government. Here is the only one where the word confidence or confidentiality is used. And if it's received in information from foreign government and the PIO claims it's given in confidence, there can be no further arguments. For example, the Rafale deal information has not been provided on the claim that it's information given by foreign government in confidence. G. Information, the disclosure of which would endanger the life or physical safety of any person or identify the source of information or assistance given in confidence for law enforcement or security purposes. Such information, if it would lead to endangering somebody's life or physical safety, obviously cannot be provided. Information which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. Very often, this is misused by PIOs when investigation is going on. They say it's ongoing investigation, henceforth will not, or the process is not complete. Law did not say this. Law said which would impede the process of investigation. So somebody must show how giving the information will impede the process of investigation. 70% of the times, people have given an application or complaint or representation to a government department and see the progress of that, saying who has handled it and what comments have been made, etc. And PIOs give this reasoning. It's laughable to claim that the complainant or the person who's representing things is going to impede the process of investigation. And therefore, this denial of information in this manner is illegal and not as per the law. 81I. Cabinet papers, including records of deliberations of the councils of ministers, secretaries, and other officers. Provided that the decisions of councils of ministers, the reasons thereof, and the material basis of which the decisions were taken shall be made public after the decision has been taken and the matter is complete or over. This is a unique exemption. Up to a certain point, information is exempt until a decision is taken by the cabinet. Once the cabinet takes a decision, the law in fact expects the government to suo moto inform the citizens about the basis on which the decisions were taken after the decision has been taken. The interesting case had come before me. A bill was presented. I was commissioner from the period 2008 to 2012 in the earlier government. A bill was presented in Parliament and somebody wanted a copy of the cabinet note based on which this was decided. PIO rejected the application based on Section 81I, saying records of deliberations of council ministers, etc. I heard that the purpose of the cabinet note and the whole deliberation was to decide whether the bill was to be presented to Parliament or not. Once that was done and the bill was presented in Parliament, it was the property of Parliament. Parliament may pass it, can amend it, can reject the bill. Therefore, once the decision has already been taken by the Council of Ministers, the material on the basis whether the decisions were taken should be made public and shared with citizens. In my opinion, that's the essence of democracy, where we have elected representatives, yes, but when new bills or new laws are passed, they should share with us also the reasoning behind it, so that citizens can also argue and discuss and debate these matters. That is active democracy, the Swaraj that we imagine. H1J is the most popular and most misused exemption by public information officers, so let's understand this carefully. Information which relates to personal information, the disclosure of which has no relationship to any public activity or interest, or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual. The public interest override we'll deal with later. Provided that the information which cannot be derived to the Parliament or a state legislature shall not be derived to any person. The law sets out personal information may fall under exempt 81J, but all personal information is not exempt. The disclosure of which has no relationship to any public activity. PIO must determine, does it have any relationship to public activity or no relationship. 99% of the information in government is the consequence of public activity. It's not a private activity. What I eat at home is not part of government records. But if I have eaten at a restaurant and the government is paying the bill, then it's a public record and it's a public activity. Or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual. Very well, privacy is a fundamental right, as declared by the Puttaswamy judgment. 9th bench declared that. But the critical problem is, it's a 550 or 60-page judgment. Read the whole judgment. You get no guidance on what exactly constitutes privacy. How is a PIO to decide? I would submit two ways. One is to go back to Article 19.2 and say what can constitute privacy, decency, or morality. Therefore, release of any information which would violate decency or morality must not be done. And of course, if it's not part of official record, it came into the hands of the public authority by chance. Supposing a raid was undertaken and some material was found, or a telephone interception was done legally, and some calls were recorded which were clearly private, those would not fall in the disclosure norms. But for a PIO to decide this is difficult. The Puttaswamy judgment does not, as I said, state anything specific that this can be called privacy, this cannot be called privacy. It goes into lots of theories and philosophies and says that what is privacy cannot be defined, but it will develop on a case-to-case basis. Parliament was aware of the confusion in privacy matters, and therefore they put a simple acid test to this. Provided that the information which cannot be denied to Parliament or a state legislature shall not be denied to any person. If somebody makes a claim of exemption under Section 81J, he or she, public information officer, first appellate authority, commissioner, or judge, must declare that, in my opinion, I would not give this information to Parliament or state legislature because it would offend or violate decency or morality. It's a subjective statement, but that is adequate. Unfortunately, most PIOs do not do this, and therefore it's an illegal, unconstitutional denial of information. Notwithstanding anything, the Official Secrets Act nor any of the exemptions permissible in accordance with subsection 1, a public authority may allow access to information if public interest in disclosure outweighs the harmful protected interest. Mind you, public interest does not have to be shown for getting information. Only if an exemption applies, you concede that an exemption applies, you may then argue that there's a larger public interest. This is a very difficult balancing act, and very few orders will be obtained based on this. You should see whether the information is not exempt. The larger public interest test is very difficult to implement. But I'll give you a concrete example of this. Supposing you sought information regarding Nirav Modi's transaction with Punjab National Bank. It would be denied to you claiming fiduciary relationship under Section 81E legitimately. But you could argue and say there's a major scam, and therefore there's a larger public interest in disclosure. A balancing would have to be done. I'm not saying what the outcome would be, but I'm just giving you an example of where you would have to give reasons for seeking interest and establish reasons. Subject to the provisions of clause A, C, and I of subsection 1, any information relating to any occurrence, event, or matter which has taken place or happened 20 years before the date on which the request was made under section 6 shall be provided to any person making a request under that section. In simple terms, after 20 years, it does not say that information has to be kept for 20 years. How long information has to be kept is to be decided by the operational needs of each department or rules or laws. After 20 years, if the information exists, only 3 exemptions will apply: A, C, and I. All these other 7 exemptions will not apply to the information. This is like KBC's 50-50. They have 50-50. Here you have 30-70. 30% of the RTI applications apply. 70% will not apply if information you are seeking is over 20 years old. Now, here I've given some reasoning on the 81J part because, as I said, 35% denials are because of that. And there is a more effort right now under the Data Protection Bill to amend 81J to say all personal information will be banned. That would be a very bad day. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. Citizens and media are protesting against this, and I wish all of you also become aware and protest against such a curtailment of a fundamental right. This is again explaining 81J. This is what the amendment is talking of. Information which relates to personal information should be barred. That would cover almost everything that one can imagine. Section 11 says where a PIO intends to disclose any information or record or part thereof or a request made under this act which relates to or has been supplied by a third party, has been treated as confidential by that third party. PIO shall within 5 days from the receipt of the request give a written notice to such third party of the request Now, the fact is the PIO intends to disclose the information or record or part thereof and invite the third party to make a submission in writing or orally regarding whether the information should be disclosed. And such submission of the third party should be kept in view while taking decisions about disclosure of information. Illegally, a lot of PIOs say information is third party. Therefore, under Section 11, we are denying information, which is wrong, which is not as per the law. It's an illegal action. Section 11 is a procedure. As mentioned earlier, denial can only be based on Section 8 or 9. Section 11 is a procedure to be followed. Then what is the purpose of this? The idea was that the PIO will think of what harm may come to his authority for his department. And he may be aware of it, and therefore he will claim exemptions on release of information. But he may not be able to think of what harm can come to a third party. As an example, supposing somebody holds a copyright over some material and I seek that information, PIO may be unaware that there is a copyright, and therefore he may think that he wants to give, intends to disclose any information or record. He must inform the third party and say, look, is there any objection? The third party may say there's an objection, this is covered by copyright, and show proof. Then the PIO must rethink his position. And such submission of the third party shall be kept in view. It doesn't give third party a veto right. It only gives the third party an opportunity to tell the PIO that the information is exempt from disclosure. The PIO's decision must mention not Section 11, but that it is exempt under so-and-so section. There's a first appellate authority within the same department who is seniorly ranked to the public information officer. First step, in case you are not satisfied with the PIO's response, first appeal to first appellate authority within 30 days. For not getting information, incomplete information or wrong information. First appellate authority should decide in 30 days, but he can extend it by 15 days, therefore 45 days. If result of first appeal not satisfactory, file second appeal to the commissioner within 90 days. Section 19(5) says onus on PIO the denial of information was justified. Strictly going by the law, you do not have to say why you need the information or why you should get the information. The PIO has to justify that denial of information was justified. Appeal. Carefully look at the response and see if information has been provided. Information can only be denied if it is not available, if it is exempt under Section 8 or 9, or file not found. Section 20 is the teeth of the act. This is the reason this law works. If information denied without reasonable cause, Commission must penalize the PIO, PIO rupees 250 per day of delay after giving an opportunity of explaining. Maximum penalty rupees 25,000. Commission can also recommend the action against the officer and compensation to be paid to the applicant. This is for the first time that denial of a fundamental right of a citizen, the poorest, most illiterate citizen with torn clothes, if his right is violated without any reasonable cause, PIO, the public servant, is liable to pay a penalty of rupees 250 per day of delay, which is a maximum cap of 25,000 rupees. This penalty can only be imposed by the commissioner. The commissioner must give an opportunity to the public information officer explaining why the delay occurred. And if there is no reasonable cause, Commission must penalize this person. This is the reason why this law has some teeth and works. This is the teeth of the act, as I said. Unfortunately, commissioners are very stingy about imposing penalties. Section 22. The provisions of this act shall have effect notwithstanding anything consistent therewith containing the Official Secrets Act and any other law for the time being in force, or in any instrument having effect by virtue of any law other than this act. A lot of times legal problems come up because somebody says Banking Act says this, somebody says Companies Act says this, somebody says RBI Act says this. In the case of obtaining information, in case of any inconsistency with other laws, the RTI Act will prevail as far as giving of information is concerned. It is not a grievance redressal formula, but as far as giving of information is concerned, the RTI Act overrides all other acts. In a nutshell, I've tried to put the process. RTI application information 30 days. If no response provided or unsatisfactory response, first appeal to be filed within 30 days of response or 60 days in case of no response. First appellate authority order after hearing within 45 days. If unsatisfactory order or no response, second appeal to commissioner within 90 days of first appellate authority's order or 120 days from the date of first appeal if no order received from first appellate. Where do you get a form for filing an RTI application? You go nowhere. Any plain piece of paper is your form. Some states have specified formats. Central government has no format. Maharashtra, for example, has a format that you need to follow. I've given the format of the Maharashtra government. You can use it for central government also and also for some other states. The RTI application is always addressed to the public information officer with the address where the information you think may lie. Now, this is a very famous story. There was this young boy of about 22 years of age who had come from Vidarbha to Mumbai to looking for a job. Where did he stay? He stayed in a hut with an uncle of his in one of the bastis. While he was going around trying to locate contacts to get a job, he heard there was an RTI workshop. He sat down, understood what is information, who has to give information, that he cannot interrogate, but he can seek for records, what exists. The response that we get in 30 days, all this he understood. He moved on. He got a job. And then he needed a ration card. So he went to the rationing office, submitted his application. As he was going out of the door, the peon accosted him at the door and said, "Aapko ration card chahiye?" He said, "Haan bhai, isliye to form bhare." The peon said, "Chai pani lagega." This boy innocently said, "Chai pila dunga aapko." The peon said, "Chai pilane ka matlab nahi hai ye." So the boy said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You have to pay 2,000 rupees, without which you will not get your ration card." This boy made a statement that always makes me feel very proud. He said, "Main ghoos nahi dunga. I shall not give a bribe." The peon said, "Stupid chap coming from a village, you go, you will never get your ration card. Go, go." This boy went away. He asked others in the basti. They were all applying for ration cards and getting their ration cards in about 40-45 days after paying 2,000 rupees. He waited for 3 months and then he filed this RT application. I had given an application for a ration card on 5th August 2006, photocopy of receipt attached. I want the following information about this progress in the following format. Date on which application received, name and designation of the officer receiving it, action taken, date on it forwarded to next officer. 2. I want a list of ration cards issued in the last 2 months, giving the dates on which the applications were made and the dates on which the ration cards were issued. He did not say, "Why have I not got my ration card?" If he had said that, he would have got nothing. This is nothing on record. He put it very smartly. And this kind of format has been used for income tax refunds, for applications, for getting various actions taken by the government bodies. In this case, the PI, the officer realized that if you have to give a response, it would expose that there was corruption. There is no rational reason. We could not say chai pani nahi diye, iske liye ration card nahi diya. So next day, the same peon came to his house and said, "Arey, aapko saamne bulaya hai." He went to the office. As soon as the officer saw him, he said, "Arey, ye aaye hain, inke liye kursi leke aao. Inka ration card leke aao aur ek cup chai aur ek glass pani leke aao." He did not give chai pani, but he got chai pani instead. And that one cup of tea, to me, is respect to the individual sovereign citizen of this nation. Thousands of times, these kind of applications have been made all across the country. For income tax refunds, for ration cards, for not getting rations, for a variety of things. Access to, for not giving attention to a complaint or a deficiency of service from the government department. Variety of things. The same format with a little bit of change has been used by people across the country. Now this I'm giving you my own RT application in a matter which was fairly sensitive. One fine day, on the front page of Times of India, I saw a photograph of citizens demonstrating in Marine Drive because one police constable, More, had raped a minor. The evidence was clear. The report said, police inspector, this on page 5 was a small news item the same day, which said, one police inspector, Prakash Avre of Mumbai Police, had raped a minor. All the evidence was clear. He was suspended from service and just a minute. And case was filed against him. When the case came up in court, the evidence was not given adequately, and therefore the case was dismissed by the court. When I read this, I felt angry. When anyone else reads something like this, we feel angry. I decided to file an RTI application, and this was the RTI application. Investigation and its action in the case of an injury. The period to which the information relates last year. Description of the information required. According to a news report in Times of India, Inspector Prakash Avre was accused of raping a minor girl in September 2005. He was acquitted by the Sessions Court in February and has been reinstated in service. I want a photocopy of the order reinstating him along with the file notings based on which the decision was taken. This information was not given, and therefore I had to file a first appeal. And here I am showing the first appeal. Grounds for first appeal. Facts of the case. I had asked for information regarding the reinstatement of Inspector Prakash Avre as per the attached application. The PI sent a letter saying that the information will be provided by Bhaikala Police Station. The PI of Bhaikala replied by his letter of 16.5 that the information could not be provided as it was exempt under Section 8.1H, which exempts information which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. Grounds for appeal. PI has not shown how providing the information would impede any investigation. In fact, no investigation is being held since Prakash Avre has been reinstated. The rejection is without any basis in law. He was a very good Deputy Commissioner of Police, and this was in the days before I became a commissioner. I was just an average citizen of Mumbai. So I'd gone for the hearing. DCP understood what I was driving at. He said, but Mr. Gandhi, what could we do? The court has released it. I said, sir, from my perspective, there are two possibilities. A, Prakash Avre is guilty of the crime he is supposed to have committed, and reinstating him would be a great disservice to the people of Mumbai and police force itself. Alternately, Prakash Avre was innocent. Somebody framed him. That person should pay. Somebody should be made to pay. The DCP saw the point I was making and he said, let me see what I can do. In 20 days from then, I got it in writing from the police commissioner's office that Police Inspector Prakash Avre had been dismissed from service. That is the power of right to information that any citizen can exercise. You have the right. There are good police officers, there are good government servants who need to be backed. We need to do something to make that job easier, to be able to overcome the bureaucratic and the corrupt and the criminal nexus that goes on. If we don't do it, nobody else will. Does every case lead to, the two cases I have described led to redressal of a grievance also? Does every case happen like that? The answer is no. I would be lying if I said that. In my opinion, nowadays about 15% of the cases, 15-17% of the cases, some small improvement occurs in the governance structure. Not everyone. Sometimes they will not give information, sometimes they'll give information, nothing, no change will occur. But in about 15-17%, some small change occurs in the governance structure. Here's a dream I want to share with all of you. If 60 lakh Indian citizens, and that's not a big figure for India, if 60 lakhs Indian citizens take a vow to file one RTI application once a month for seeing something that is wrong, and 15-17% of it works to make some improvement in the governance structure. 1 crore times a year, there will be some small improvements in the government. In 5 to 10 years, India will be a far better nation than it is in terms of governance, in terms of democracy. It can happen. You do not have to come together. You can do it on your own. A survey of mine shows that almost all Indians script for 2 hours every month about what is wrong. Government aisa hai, rasta aisa hai, air is bad, kachra uthta nahi hai, etc., etc. Does the cribbing change anything? It can't change anything. My submission is try RTI. Out of the 2 hours of crib time, take out half an hour to file one RTI application once a month. You may bother about filing appeals if you don't get information, but even if you don't, just file it as a matter of duty. And India will change. Here I'm given a summary of various things. Can this make a change? And who is to make the change? At one place, again, when I was giving this talk in a live condition, one old gentleman about my age got up and said, Mr. Gandhi, ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है. मैंने 10 साल बहुत कोशिश किया, बहुत कंप्लेंट किया, बहुत आरटीआई किया. इंडिया में कुछ होने वाला ही नहीं है. इंडिया में कुछ होएगा ही नहीं. To such friends I say, many of us go to mandirs, masjids, gurudwaras, agyaris, churches, whatever. Once a day, once a week, once a month, maybe once a year. When we go there and come out, we don't get an extra 100 rupee note in our wallet. Why do we do it? We do it as an act of faith. We have the faith that by doing this, something good will happen to me, myself, my city, my friends, my family, my country. It's an act of faith, which has no logical link to anything. I'm not saying it's bad. Continue. Faith is a very big aspect in human relations. What do we do for the nation as an act of faith? Zero. Let us try this as an act of faith for the nation. File one RT application once a month. Don't worry about the end result. It will bring pressure on the government. This is our government. We can change it. Try it. You lose nothing. India might gain a lot. And you, my friends, are the Badshahs and Begums of this nation. Badshahs and Begums not only have authority, they also have duty to set things right. Akbar Badshah or Shari Maharaj, if something was wrong in their domain, did not say, I don't care. They cared. You must care. You can make India a better place. And it is only active citizens who can bring about change. Mera Bharat Mahan, we say a lot of times. We write on tempos, trucks, cars. Mera Bharat Mahan. But we don't really believe it, do we? Therefore, I say, Mera Bharat Mahan nahi hai. Mera Bharat Mahan nahi hai, par ye dosh mera hai. I, the individual sovereign citizen of this nation, am responsible. If things are not great, I can, you can, together we can make a huge difference to the nation. And thank you very much. You can get a copy of this presentation from Moneylife if you write to them. Thank you, Akshay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for the presentation. We'll take some questions now. So if you have a question, use the raise hands button to raise your hand and I'll unmute you. There's already a question from Mr. Sashi. I'm unmuting you now.
Hello. So very good evening. Excellent information.
Hello. Hello.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I think we have lost. There's another question. We'll take the next question from Dr. Murlithar. I'm unmuting you.
Sir, good evening, sir. It was a very excellent explanation. In fact, it was very provoking also. I would appreciate if you can explain some of the ingredients of section 25 and 26. Because in my opinion, a lot of lacuna is there. And for the growing problems, these gaps in 25 and 26 are primary reasons.
That would need a fairly long interaction, my friend. I'd be happy to do it at some time. But most of it is due to wrong implementation. I can sit with you someday and explain, or you can come to a session at Moneylife where I do one-to-one consultations. I'd be happy to deal with it. This would be too long a talk to really get into understand what you call gaps. In my opinion, this is one of the best drafted laws in the world.
Okay, we'll take the next question from Mr. Rohan. I'm unmuting you.
So very good session, very informative and very knowledgeable.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Right now, I'm able to?
Yes.
I'm audible? Yes. It was a very good session and very informative, very useful. I think every citizen of India should have a knowledge of it. Regarding one RTI which I have filed to know the information regarding some from the police station regarding FIR against a particular person. So I filed it. I didn't receive the information. So I filed the first appeal. Still, I didn't receive the information.
Rohan, just 1 second. What was the ground for refusal?
No, they have not given any information as they replied to the RTI application only.
Okay, okay. So then you went into first appeal.
Yes, after 45 days. 30 days.
Then what happened?
Nothing. No response from the end also.
Go for a second appeal is the only solution. I mean,
I did, and it is almost 90 days. Still no information I have received.
no, the only solution is go for a second appeal. It's unfortunate, but our commissions are taking too long. The law is very powerful. We must get it implemented properly.
Correct. If you're not getting a response on the second appeal as well, you'll have to file a case in the. I think Sashi is back. I'm unmuting her again.
Hello.
Yes, miss.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So thank you for the excellent session, excellent information shared by you. Thank you so much. I have one query. In my cooperative housing society, the managing committee, that is the chairman, he has 3 children. As per section 73 CA of the MCS Act 1960, it is if you have more than 2 children, that is the born after 2003, whatever, as per the clause, he is not eligible to stand for the election and to be in that position. The thing is, he is not staying in our society. He's staying in some another society, and he's still ruling our society. I went to the registrar. Registrar is telling me, you get me the proof. Now his children are studying in private school. Okay. So when I went there to meet the principal and I told her about this, she said we can't give the birth certificate of his children because it's a private school and they can't follow. RTI doesn't come under this thing, right? So can you give me an idea, guidance, how to get this information, how to get this birth certificate of his children, so that I can submit to the registrar?
Birth certificates will be difficult to get because it's a private school. What I could suggest is get 10 people from your society to back you and give a written statement to the registrar of societies giving a complaint with 10 people signing on it. I don't think the registrar will be able to refuse that.
If there are any other questions, please raise your hand and I'll unmute you. There's a question in the chat. Someone has asked if the PIO refuses to accept the application sent by speed post, what is the solution?
File a complaint to the commission under section 18 saying that this was refused. Don't open the envelope, keep the envelope and offer it, attach a photocopy on your complaint and show it when the hearing comes before the commission.
Okay. Thank you, sir. If there are any other questions, please raise your hand.
I think
Otherwise,
Mr. Shashi wants to say something further. Unmute yourself, ma'am.
Yeah, I can unmute myself because it is done by the host here. They mute us. So my question to the previous question that I wanted to ask you. Now, as per, I think, education, right to education or something, first to seventh standard, it comes under BSc Education Department. Someone told me this. Is it right or not? Please correct me. So, is it possible to get the birth certificate of the children from the education officer of the BMC ward? And they
Extremely
can,
doubtful, ma'am. I don't think the birth certificates of students have to be given to the municipal corporation.
but if I give them application saying that as per this act, it's illegal,
No,
whatever.
no, ma'am. I don't think you will get it. I would tell you you'd be chasing a wrong level. You will not. 99% will not.
No other option, sir, because the registrar is in very good
I
relationship.
gave you one possibility. Get 10 people to back you and file a complaint with the registrar saying please investigate and inquire into it.
I think Sashi will stop the question there because we are not getting going forward anyway. If there are any more questions, we'll take them right now or we'll call it for the night. Please raise a hand or post a question in the chat and I'll take it up. I don't think there are any questions, so I think we'll end it for today. Thank you all for joining us. If you need a copy of the presentation, you can send a mail to foundation@moneylife.in and we'll send you the presentation. A recording of this video will also be available on our YouTube channel, Moneylife TV. We'll also share a link with you on email if you need that. Thank you so much, sir, for taking the time and doing this presentation. We'll do more such sessions in the future. So do keep in touch and we'll keep you in the loop. Thank you. And
Goodbye to all the Badshahs and Begums of India. Keep that in mind. Thank you.